Hello and welcome to our short video explanation about keywords and grammar structures for writing diagrams in IELTS Writing Part 1. Today, we'll share sequencing words and phrases that are useful for writing diagrams, learn verb forms for process diagrams, and signal words for alternative steps. Sequencing words and phrases. These words or phrases can be used to describe the steps or stages of a process. The following words and phrases could be used. First, for example, first, a suitable location must be found. First of all, an example. First of all, the water must be purified. The first step, the first stage. Here is an example. The first step in starting a business is to write a business plan. The process of begins with. For instance, the process of mining begins with locating a rich source of the mineral. Next. For example, next, the raw materials are cleaned. The next step, an example. The next step is to test the machine. Then, for instance, then the tank is filled with water. The water is first filtered and then poured into the tank. Following this. Here is an example. Following this, the valve must be opened. The following step. For example, the following step is to collect as much information as possible. After. An example. After the two types of materials have been separated, they are stored in large containers. After this. For instance, after this, you need to preheat the oven. Once. An example. Once funds have been deposited, customers can write checks or withdraw cash. Finally. For example, finally, the adult female lays eggs, and the process begins again. The final step, the final stage. For instance, the final step is to make sure that all the parts are correctly connected. The last step, the last stage. The last step in applying to the university is to submit your application before the deadline. Verb forms for process diagrams. In most process diagrams, the emphasis is on the action, not on the person. Therefore, you will generally use verbs in the passive in your response. Present passive form, for example. The pigments are then mixed with oil. Used to describe industrial, agricultural, or business processes. Present perfect passive. For instance, after a bill has been signed by the president, it becomes law. Once the students' papers have been graded, the results are recorded, in clauses beginning with the signal words once or after. Verb form is plus, to, plus, infinitive. Here are the examples. The first step is to take the patient's temperature. The final step is to send the email. Present simple active, an example. An adult butterfly emerges wet and shaky from its cocoon. For biological or other natural processes. Passive modal verbs, for example. Next, the can of paint should be thoroughly shaken. The two holes must be lined up carefully. In a response to a how-to process, how to paint a room, how to change the oil in your car, etc. Imperative command form. For instance, first, break the eggs in a bowl and then add milk. Can also be used in responses to how-to processes. Sometimes a diagram will show two or more ways to complete a process. You should use signal words to indicate that a process can follow two possible directions. The following signal words could be used. Either, or. For example, at this point, either the liquid is filtered again, or it moves directly to the drying chamber. Alternatively, for instance, the next step is for 2 to happen. Alternatively, 3 might occur. If. Here is an example. If 81 happens, then C1 occurs. However, if 82 takes place, C2 happens. Which phrases and words do you usually use to write diagrams? Share in the comment below. Like and subscribe to our channel.